Now, if you watch my last video where I highlighted a monologue Tucker Carlson did, you'll begin to suspect, if you don't already know, that the greatest president in my lifetime knew exactly what he was up against when he went into office. And the moves and actions he took all throughout his presidency and even before, like one giant chess game. He had it figured out a long time ago. Before he even stepped foot in the White House, he had this figured out.
I am your voice.
Hey, the man made promises, and come hell or high water, he's keeping them.
We are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
He is one of the most brilliant minds I've ever encountered. Now, I would never claim to understand the genius of his mind completely, but I do see many of the things he has done, is doing, and potentially will do. And I gotta be honest, I'm hard-pressed to find anything that this man is not good at.
Who says there's not luck in football?
You are the man. One time, everybody, Donald Trump. Unbelievable.
Now, some of you may disagree with me, but I even love how he dances. He has a bit of a quirky rhythm, I'll admit, but I love the way he moves because I'm pretty sure I know exactly where he learned how to dance.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
In every video I've done so far, I have mentioned this diabolical enemy that we're all facing right now. And in the last few videos, I highlighted how the Smith-Mundt Act and the repealing of the Smith-Mundt Act enables the mouthpiece of this diabolical enemy, i.e. the MSM, fake news, the enemy of the people, to lie and use propaganda. And we briefly went over Operation Northwoods that illustrated this diabolical enemy is not above killing innocent American citizens, sacrificing them in order to further their agenda. In the case of Operation Northwoods, they wanted to use the military to go into Cuba and do a little regime change, right? Ugh. And the assassination of President John F. Kennedy illustrates that they will eliminate anything or anyone that gets in their way. Doesn't matter whether it's the leader of the free world or somebody living in a cardboard box. They were willing to eliminate them. So if you can imagine the mentality of a stone-cold sociopath having the influence upon everyone in charge of the control panels in this country, it's a frightful thought.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld, and and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz, I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq? Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
So check me if I'm tripping right now. Did that kind of seem like they already planned to go into all of those countries and they just needed a reason to? Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what the reason was, or the precursor. You know, I plan to go back around. As soon as I get through summarizing and going over the framework of the bigger picture that I'd like to share, I'm going to go back around and I'd like to dive in deeper in many of these subject areas that I've covered so far. Many of these subject matters deserve some answers, like Afghanistan, for instance. We went into Afghanistan to look for Osama bin Laden, who was allegedly hidden in a cave somewhere. Or that's the picture and the image that we were led to believe. In hindsight, kind of makes me wonder, with all that searching, the full weight and the sophistication of the United States military searching high and low for this man, how is it that a 2-digit IQ CNN reporter was able to find him and give him an interview? And furthermore, who is Tim Osman? Boogeyman. More like Phantom Boogeyman. What about Pat Tillman? Remember him? The football star that abandoned his football career to join the United States Army to fight for this country. A young, patriotic American who had everything going for him and just wanted to protect this country. What did he find when he went over there? Was what he was accomplishing worth sacrificing basically his entire career, his life here in the United States? Did it turn out to be worthy? Or did he discover something else? And if he did discover something, did he perhaps change his perspective? And if his perspective was changed, drastically changed, did he plan to share that perspective with the American people upon arriving home? Did he share that perspective with his fellow servicemen while he was over there? Did that perspective reach the wrong ears? Ears that want to protect the machine that sent him over there to begin with? Couldn't have such a high-profile individual coming home and telling the truth now, could they? Was he able to tell the truth? I guess we'll never know, because Pat Tillman was killed before he arrived home. According to the administration that was serving at that time, it was a very heroic battle. He was awarded a Silver Star, if memory serves. But thank goodness, some people who still honor the truth were able to share a few things with his folks, and his folks wanted some answers. And of course it turned into the same old dog and pony show that always happens. Congressional hearings and just a big show to distract the American people. It turned out he was killed by friendly fire, quote unquote. Was there foul play? They'll never admit to it. Now, they would have been able to find out what he knew had they not taken all of his clothing and personal effects, including his diary, and burned it immediately afterwards. You see where I'm going with this? Some of you may have already discovered all of these things and know every intricate detail of everything that I've covered. And some of you may be stumbling upon the details of these events and uncovering that the official story that we were told was not what happened in actuality. I believe there's going to be a small percent, a very, very small percent of people that will reject everything outright. I don't recommend that, by the way, but that are just not going to be willing to accept that we've been duped. But we have two choices right now. We can feign in the victimhood mentality.
Oh, the government's destroying my life.
Or we can humble ourselves and suck it up and figure out where we went wrong so this doesn't happen again. And the truth of the matter is, if we want to be honest, we missed a lot of the warning signs along the way. General Smedley Butler tried to warn us when he was contracted to head up an army of 500,000 men for this diabolical enemy. He initially only agreed as a ploy to find out who all the players were.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans, to use as a bluff, or as a club at least, to intimidate the government and break down our democratic institutions. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government.
And when the administration of FDR at that time was advised, they chose to do nothing because they thought it would hurt the country to hang these industrialists and these bankers for treason. Also missed former President Eisenhower's warning in his farewell speech.
Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications.
Beware of the military-industrial complex. And wasn't there another quote-unquote conspiracy that surrounded former President Eisenhower? I have a feeling that is going to come up in a later video. And then, of course, we missed the warning from President John F. Kennedy.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
A monolithic and ruthless conspiracy. What on earth could that mean?